See, all right, guys, we're getting ready to go live. Let me see. Okay, let me invite somebody. Okay, Nelson, if you go to the live feed on my page, then I can invite you. I'm going to close this off real quick.
Okay, is it under the film funding, right?
Yeah, Phil Funding on Facebook group. Let me turn this off real quick.
So, right.
Hey, how's it going, Octavio? Just give me a thumbs up if you can hear me, okay? I would really appreciate that. Alex, how's it going, Alex? Alex was a PA that I worked with. All right, Nelson, it says that you're watching, but doesn't give me the option to bring you on camera. Octavio, I can bring to camera, so I'm assuming that's probably gonna. It's probably a feature that just works through the phone. I'm using the iPhone right now. Okay, I see the invitation. Approved. Let me see if we're gonna be added.
There we go.
Nelson, what's going on?
I think we got it. Hold
That
on.
was that was a little crazy.
It was. Hold on. Let me just put some headphones on and figure this out. Can you give me
Copy
maybe
that.
give me about 5 seconds and we'll get this
Copy
going.
that.
All right.
Hey, how's it going, Don? Luckily, I have this really cool stand for your iPhone, man. It's really, really cool. Just give us a few seconds, guys. John is a filmmaker who has a production company in the UK, correct? Let's see, let me approve, Nelson.
All right. I think we're back.
All right, Nelson, how's it going, buddy?
Wonderful, wonderful. All right. So we got all the technical issues figured out.
That's cool, man. So I would like to introduce our special guest, Nelson Grande from Avenida Productions. Now, Nelson works with a crowdfunding company. They've already raised 1.5 million in the last 2 years, and they've done it with over 70 projects. Is that correct, Nelson?
That is correct, Jesus. And thanks for having me on here again.
No, absolutely, man.
We had a wonderful reception last time. We've had some people reach out to us. We've been able to help a couple of people that have come through from your group, and
Fantastic.
yeah, and we got them funded. So
Nice. Yeah, one of them happens to be one of my close colleagues, man. I grew up. Me and Alex De Hoy's was a member of my page. That contacted you. To inquire about your services,
Mhm.
and he successfully raised 26,000 for his documentary, man. So that's huge.
Yeah. You know what? It's amazing. Now, just like any other project that comes through here, we're amazing at what we do. However, if the filmmaker that works with us doesn't do their part, it's not successful. So every filmmaker, including Alejandro Meollos with his project Passport Preachers, did an amazing job, followed the coaching, and we're very happy for him.
Nice, Nelson. And what would you say? I mean, what have you personally learned in the last 2 years? Through this whole journey, man. I'm pretty sure you have a lot of insight, a lot of expert, uh, pretty much expert insight because you're actually doing the grind every single day, and I'm assuming there's some kind of pattern or some kind of something that seems to usually always work, man. And I think the last time we spoke, you mentioned that it really starts with that filmmaker and his network.
Yeah, so I'll tell you the consistent thing. The consistent thing is that nothing is consistent. And that's what makes crowdfunding itself extremely difficult, Jesus. A lot of people like to know the quick answer, and the quick answer is it takes a lot. For instance, whenever we're setting up campaigns, we never set up campaigns to alike. Just for us already, we do this day in and day out. It'll take us a couple of weeks just to set a campaign up correctly. So
Hmm.
so what it takes is really a lot of actions, and obviously we're very experienced in this. So whenever we come against the wall, because there will be points, crowdfunding campaigns are very challenging. So there'll be points when they're difficult, something might come up, and the whole point is just to not freak out and just adjust. So yeah.
And I'm pretty sure there's been scenarios where the filmmaker thinks like, dude, this is never gonna happen. Like when it's like week 2 or
Oh yeah.
day 10, and they their their crowdfunding campaign. It's just stagnant. It gets stuck like some weird limbo period of day 10 and day 15, and then it starts picking up again.
Yeah, 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 yeah. You know what? I'll tell you what, that is consistent. Freaking out from the filmmaker is consistent. What you have to do is you have to remember that you're dealing with people, and people have personalities. So your campaign itself is actually going to have a personality as well. Um, whatever happens in the news that day, whatever's happening in the country and the world, that affects people. So that also affects them and
Well,
how they're
yeah.
going to respond here. Oh, absolutely. And I think that's why we've been so successful, Jesus, because there are a lot of actually, crowdfunding companies. We're not a crowdfunding company. We're really good at crowdfunding. We're a production company. We film. We recently worked, Jesus, on an amazing documentary that's getting a ton of
Yeah.
attention. Yeah, it's getting a ton of attention. Um, but what it is that people are in different moods daily, and we really just have to be consistent with what we're doing, because if your mood is consistently trying, if you're consistently making that effort to make it come through, people are going to feel that. People are going to feel your passion come through. So it doesn't matter what's going on in the world or what's happening in your life at the moment, because we all have stuff going on. Keeping that consistency of going at it, because people are always watching you, and people do freak out because they're like, we've had maybe in the last month, and I'm giving you the really long answer, but maybe like the last month, we've had campaigns do this kind of like finish lining thing where they come through at the fourth quarter, where maybe like the last week, where
Yeah.
people will come through with like $5,000, $10,000. We had one campaign collect $12,000 its last week, because people are watching. You just don't know.
Yeah. And Nelson, actually, we have Alejandro de Hoyes, who's we just spoke about. Maybe he can jump on in a little later in the interview, and I think the audience, my members, would love to hear his response as far as his experience working with you, and how it just all jumped, how it all just started.
Wonderful. Yeah,
And
that'd be great.
I want to address Richard. Richard, we'll definitely have a Q&A a little bit towards the end of the interview, and we'll be more than happy to answer your questions.
Absolutely.
And Alex, if you're cool with us bringing you on the interview, just give us a thumbs up or give us a yes, and we would love to have you on the interview, man.
I hope he's not wearing like a shower cap or something. Let's
Exactly.
give him time to get ready.
Oh, he's probably on set right now, man. That dude works a lot.
Oh yeah, Alejandro. Yeah, so Alejandro actually ended up cutting up a trailer for us.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, 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 yeah. He ended up cutting the Quinceañera trailer.
Oh, cool. Right on,
Yeah,
man.
yeah. So he's very talented filmmaker. You know.
Now, Nelson, a lot of because I posted the interview that was going to be live um, a few days ago, and I've been getting a lot of feedback, just directly, not necessarily through the page, but
Mhm.
a lot of people. I don't know if people still think of the logistics of crowdfunding, but at least from what the audience is telling me so far is like the I think everybody's just obsessed with some kind of like checklist, like top 5 things that you should at least do to kind of prep,
Mhm.
or 5 things that project needs to have before you would even consider working with them or
Yeah. Well, actually, I'm glad you brought that up. We do have a checklist of things that we look for before we take on a client. Now, you know, and I don't like saying client because it's more like a partner, because at the end of the day,
Yeah.
you know, at the end of the day, you know, everybody makes money. You make you make a little money here, a lot of money for you, a lot of money for your project. So let's just say partners and filmmakers. Um, what we really make sure to do is we only take on projects to work with that celebrate diversity in a positive manner. You know, there's a big conversation going around diversity right now in the world, and I think it's the perfect time to really start sharing all the best parts of diverse groups and what, you know, real life looks like. So that's number one for us. The second thing is it has to have some type of positive impact. And not, don't get me wrong. No, we can make horror films. You can make all this kind of stuff too. I'm just saying. We're just not really looking for negative. For something that's going to be rubbing an entire group the wrong way. Now, if it's something that sparks controversy and starts conversation in a good way, heck yeah, you know,
Yeah.
please, you know, that's conversation is the beginning and the end of everything, I believe. If you have conversation, then anything can be figured out. And then the last thing I look for, and ultimately I'm the last gatekeeper. There are a couple of steps in between. We actually start working with people. Usually they go through our development team, which is head by Hannah Warling, which is one of our team members. She's amazing. So usually it goes to her, then to me, and then from there is when we bring them on and when they start working with our coach. And that last thing we look for, which is extremely important, is if the person I'm speaking with seems coachable and open to doing work, because crowdfunding campaigns take work. Anyone here who's done one before knows that, or anyone who's heard of people doing it before, you know, they're a little intimidating from people who don't know them.
Yeah, it's massive, man. It's a massive undertaking for sure.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. So we really look to make sure that people are coachable. If during the call, the person is a little combative and set on certain things, um, you know, then it makes it hard because we have to come in there and teach them something different than what they know. So if they're not
Mhm.
willing to, work together as a team, then we're not going to successfully pass our knowledge and information and experience along to them and their team to have a successful campaign. Now, someone asked a question real quick: is a horror film where everyone dies equally the same? Yeah, it's fine. Horror films are fine. Like I said, I just,
Thank you for
yeah,
answering
yeah. No,
that.
the only things we're talking about, it's like, you know, that old stereotype where it's like, you know, the black man was always the first one to die in a horror film.
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah,
we'll just watch out for little things like that. Like, don't get me
yeah,
wrong. We're not
yeah.
we're not trying to kill your stories and change them up a lot. We really just look for hardcore stereotypes and things to stay away from. You know, so that's that.
Or just something that I guess more like intentionally done to be distasteful or just be extremely negative.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, granted, it's a filmmaker's responsibility to be thought provoking, right? Like
Mhm.
that's like a lot of the subject matters that whether it's a drama or
Oh, absolutely.
there's underlying like even horror can be extremely intellectual, and there could be a lot of subtext behind like a horror film or like some kind of sci-fi film.
Yeah.
And I totally get what you mean. Like it has to have like it can't be exploitive. I guess that's what you're trying to get to, right?
Yeah, I'm just trying, you know, we just steer clear of the hardcore stereotypes. You know, there's so much creativity and there's so much good story to tell out there that it almost becomes lazy writing, in my opinion. You know,
Yeah,
I can laugh at a good joke about Latinos. I can laugh about a good joke about
yeah,
anything. We gotta be able to be open enough to still have sense of humor like that. But you know, some of that stuff that's just thrown in there, you know, it's a little, in my opinion, a little bit of lazy writing sometimes when you go too hard on the
yeah.
stereotype. So more than just because we are a stand for diversity, but also because we're a stand for quality, actual quality. You know, then that's probably a reason why we'll stay away from work like that.
And so just going back with that theme, Nelson,
Mhm.
because like I mentioned, a lot of people are either accustomed to it or it's almost kind of like a prerequisite. Like
Mhm.
when somebody's trying to get information, from whether it's from myself, or a sales agency or a producer rep,
Mhm.
crowdfunding expert, another producer, like what are kind of like the line items that you need to have, uh, like you already discussed, like what your criteria is to,
Hmm.
kind of like, give the green light to say, yeah, we want to work together.
Hmm.
But even then, just, general, crowdfunding, tips or protocols that they need to have kind of like set up. So by the time they do get to you, it's like, oh, wow, these guys
Yeah.
already, actually came up even way more prepared than your typical, filmmaker.
That's a great question. What we like to see, we'd like to see people who take initiative. The teams that have come to us and says, "Hey, listen, we have a team already in place," and a team I would say is anywhere between maybe 3 people or more.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, 3 people or more. Because think about it, we're not only going to be working with you, we're going to be working with you, your network, and your team's network. Every extra person is an additional hundred to thousands of people. Hundreds to thousands of people, depending on how many people you're connected to. Um, and we like to see people have their team set, people who have already the idea of where they want their project going. Because times we do get people coming here like, well, we have a story and it's short, but it's a film and this and that. No, no, don't get me wrong. We help people out who aren't very clear, but they are set clear that they're going to get it done. Um, but ultimately, honestly, Jesus, we provide all of it. We provide the direction. I really think the most important thing is for people to come with determination, just determination to get it done. For instance, like I always like using this project as an example. Our quinceañera, Jesus, which you were
Good.
part of the crew. Our the filmmaker, Gilbert Galvan Jr., an amazing, he's been a longtime friend of mine, and wanted to make the switch into production. So he came with a solid idea and determination. He didn't have a script, he didn't have a budget, he didn't have an outline, he didn't have anything. He had a really good story and he had a lot of determination to get it done. Now, we crowdfunded that. We got it. We raised the money. We flew out there. We met up with you and the Texas crew out there. We filmed it. We're submitting it. And, it's getting a lot of views from a lot of different festivals right now. The trailer's amazing. And it has so much excitement around it. What did it hit? I think it hit 100,000 views in 1 week.
Oh, wow.
The trailer, and we didn't, and it wasn't boosted or anything. It was 100,000 views in about a week. And see, that's really most importantly what I look for. Well, I say, excuse me, what we look for. I said me as the gatekeeper, but if you have that determination, Jesus, then our team here has the knowledge and experience, and we have all the insider experience and tips and tricks and things like that to do. If the person,
So you lift the burden from the filmmaker, right? You just because that's exactly why they're contacting you, right? For your insight, your expertise, is just coming in with a clear goal, coming in with some
Mhm.
freaking grit and some passion, and just that you're gonna do some legwork, man.
Absolutely.
And even Alex, if you don't mind typing, if you're still on with us, man, just type in some of your experiences, man, because I know that for a while, I remember seeing almost, I think Alex was like almost daily, doing something really cool and creative, to promote and, and bring attention to the project and stuff like that.
Absolutely. A lot of it was Alex, a lot of it was our team being Alex.
Oh,
Yeah. So yeah, we have a team of about, yeah, I think we have over 10 people now. We just moved into a bigger office as well. Um,
Congrats.
Thank you, thank you. And it's honestly it's a wonderful experience and the feeling is just because the way our company is growing is because we're growing together with creators. We all we do as a company is take a little piece of what we help you find, and we all grow together. And people don't have to even have a production team when they walk in. Like they can walk in with an idea. We help crowdfund it. We produce it as well, and then from there we could even help with self distribution all the way through. The way that happened is that we've gone through the process so many times, and we're still making money off of films that we've made several years ago. And that's one of the things that I really want independent creators to understand is that you can make money off of your films. Like this is a business, and if people are watching your projects and your shorts, your documentaries, they're consuming it. So if they're consuming it, you should be compensated for it. And that's always our end goal. Not all projects make it to there, but we do our best with vetting them and trying to get the best type quality, and then setting them off and how they want to do. But yeah, absolutely.
And Nelson, do you see any like have you noticed any trends or any like major changes to like crowdfunding, like in specifically like is obviously social media is a huge part of that strategy,
Hmm.
right? Whether it's email, Facebook, Instagram. I don't know what the stats are as far as like who gives a little bit better traffic,
Hmm.
to directly to whether it's Kickstarter, Indiegogo, or Seed and Spark,
Hmm.
right? That's
Hmm.
the other major one.
Yeah, Seed and Spark, Indiegogo, Kickstarter. Things are always adjusting. There's always some type of updates. Every platform's trying to adjust something. There's small changes that we just got to keep up with. For us, I tell people we leave no stone left unturned. We work with email, we work via social media. And, social media is one of the biggest avenues. But we've seen filmmakers come to us with, huge social media presences, and we tried, crowdfunding that way, and it didn't take. The next, we start working the email, and then just starts rolling in. We're like, okay,
Yeah.
and that's what it is. It's consistent. It's consistent code breaking. What I tell people, like I use a ton of analogies. I tell people it's like we're trying to get to this little safe that's inside another safe and another safe and another safe and another safe.
That's so ingenious, man. I
So,
love that.
so yeah, so it's like we play with it, we crack the code until we, completely to open that one, then we do another one, until we get to that one. And some open easier than others because we crack it faster. But ultimately, we just keep working at it, and it's tough. It takes a lot. But I see Alex, Alejandro responded
Yeah, I know.
there. He said,
Be prepared for the roller coaster, man. Damn. Be adaptable. Take advantage of the big moments. Make an engaging video, and make sure you have a great team. Now, Alex, and also Nelson. I know Alex uses local media.
mhm,
I believe he was interviewed like on a local channel here in San Antonio, Texas.
mhm.
Have you personally seen like when local, whether it's press, the news, or radio, like give a little bit of bump or credibility, right? Like does it give a
You said it right there. Credibility. It gives you
Mhm.
credibility because, as you all think right now, the people that are watching right now too. If I wanted to share something with you, I type it in the link and you click it and you're there. What happens is that, unfortunately, sometimes people spend money on the media and try to get press that way. And it says, to support our campaign, please go to so and so / blah 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 blah. And the thing is, people aren't sitting around with a pencil jotting it down to go visit later. You got to make it easy for them. Now, it does give you credibility. I'm glad you said that, because now when you present people with the easier things in your own social media or Facebook, or excuse me, or email, and you say them, by the way, here's the link to, the morning
Yeah,
show or whatever. That's how it can help out.
yeah, because every major platform already, they put the content on their website. It's usually embedded,
Hmm.
so you can link it to like Facebook, whether it's a radio like MP3, or whether it's a podcast where you can put it on Facebook and say, hey,
Hmm.
just or on an email just as a reminder, I got interviewed by so and so, or like you said, like the morning show,
Hmm. Hmm.
or here's the link to the press that And I think I saw your point too. Like, there's a difference between having a publicist and actually having some news coverage that just happens to resonate with an audience, right? Like, if it's like Alex's project, passport preachers, right? There was a
Hmm.
very specific demographic that I think resonated with the project like immediately.
Hmm.
I don't know, I mean, like, obviously I couldn't see the numbers, like, where the majority of the funding came. Was it like personal, was it the actual core network, or was it like strangers? But that definitely would be a great case study, man. And
Yeah.
I think the community, like my community, would be really interested in looking at, you know, uh, uh, the dots that connected the successful, campaign,
Yeah.
from his daily journey to like, weekly, I'm pretty sure you guys have some kind of milestone, excuse me, milestone,
Well,
milestone, excuse me.
that's good. No, so what we do is, and I'll say this, and I say this to every person I speak with regarding, whenever we're talking about crowdfunding. It doesn't matter if you're a first-time filmmaker or if you're an established celebrity. All crowdfunding campaigns start within your inner circles, and then they work their way outward. A-lister, first-timer, doesn't matter. Friends and family, colleagues, partners, community partners. so on and so forth. And eventually we catch on to the general public. And again, you have to think about the contributor's perspective. I may be a huge fan of whoever's running this crowdfunding campaign. I may love them to death. But the thing is, when you're dealing with people's money, they're a little more cautious with it. You know, they are a little more cautious with it in the sense that they may love you and support you, but they won't be the first ones to jump in right away. And that's the biggest thing, you know, unless you're dealing with, you know, something that, you know, you go to these crowdfunding campaigns where they're talking about, you know, they've raised millions of dollars, but they're selling products. It's like, you know, like this little luggage that
Yeah,
follows you around the thing. That's not really crowdfunding. It's a pre-sale, and all you're doing is buying
it's a
something.
so
Yeah,
yeah.
it's a pre-sale. So when you're working with projects, you know, film, television, shorts, anything like media, we really got to come up with an effective story that's going to become really engaging. And I don't mean like come up with one and create something that's going to be, misleading. Everything we do comes out of integrity. And we're reaching out to the community to support you. And if we're going to ask them to support you, we have to be completely open and honest with them and telling them what we're doing and why we're doing it and why we need the help. And that's what people like. People, you know, now I think the difficult part is coming up with a message that's not going to be too, too confusing. Because again, when you're asking people for their money, you have to make it something that's clear and heartfelt. And I don't mean you have to start crying or anything, but it's got to, yeah, but you know, it's got to be genuine, and it's got to be
Mhm.
quick to the point because you're asking somebody for their money, for support. So make it easy for them.
And it's so funny that the way that you speak about your process, that it, in a sense, like the perks don't even matter at that point anymore, so to speak, because it's really like you keep on mentioning. I keep on hearing the recurring theme is like, being genuine and connecting with the audience. And I'm not saying like whether it's a T-shirt or a copy
Hmm.
of the DVD, but
Yeah.
at that level already, it's more of a human connection,
Hmm.
between the filmmaker and the person that's gonna donate $1, donate 10,
Yeah.
donate 100.
Yeah, it
And I
really
think
is.
that's one of the first time the first time that we had the interview, it was really hard for me to kind of like make that switch because it could just be my personality. I try to look at things a little bit more logistically.
Hmm.
So I'm like, oh, okay, so that means that I have to have like awesome perks. I have to have like a network of 10,000 people in my social media, and it's like kind of like this checklist. So I keep on referring to that
Yeah.
checklist because I need to see something a little bit more tangible and making sure that I'm at least going through some kind of guideline to get to a successful point, but with you on the other hand, it's you just keep on and it took me a while to kind of get to make that that connection, that it's like the human connection, right? Like
Yeah.
you're really making like you're building a bond with somebody that might never meet you. They might not even see your film. They just like, hey, dude, this guy's like speaking to me like right now. Whether I see the movie or if I get my perk, I'm still gonna do my 10, $25. And that's very difficult outside of your circle. And sometimes I'm pretty sure you've had scenarios where even family members and friends like, yeah, 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 we'll hook you up, we'll hook you up, and
Yeah. Oh,
nobody
it
comes in,
happens.
right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And you know what, Jesus, I'm glad you brought that up. It's actually a combination of it all. Okay. The logistical part is it's fairly easy for us to come up with because we've done it so many times. We know more or less. And what I mean I mean our coach,
Yeah,
our coaches that work with us, because people get the coaches assigned to them that work with them, on a daily basis. So what it is, it's the logistical part also, but our coaches are really, really, really good at coming up with that message because if I want to tell a story about, saving, maybe children from starvation, or maybe clean water for children in a foreign country, you know, there's stuff out there all over the place that are, everyone's asking for help because a lot of people need help. However, we have to make it clear and engaging enough for people to actually really get you and understand you and how their dollar is going to make a direct difference. Not like, hey, this is for kids for clean
yeah.
water, but what is it exactly going to do? What's going to be the outcome of it? So And that's the magic that, well, let me just say Fanny, or coach, my partner, who actually comes up with all that kind of stuff. Because even that message, something coming up with those messages, we have these things called kickoff sessions where we, come up with that underlying message. People are, Skyping into us, or they're here in person, and we're writing everything down on a board. And it's a couple of hours of jotting down and breaking it down until we actually come up with that message that you hear it, it's perfect. Because you got to think about something real quickly. Like, we live in the age of social media where people are scrolling. They're scrolling. You have this much time to make them go through about 5 different steps. First, you got to catch their attention. And then they click on it. After clicking on it, they watch the video. And after watching the video, they read that short summary right beneath it. After that, they scroll down and pick a perk. And after picking a perk, they actually have to physically pull out their credit card and make a contribution. So it's a lot of steps. People don't understand.
That's a huge chain. Yeah, it's a very complicated chain. Like, to grab their attention and like every step of the way. You can lose them at the third one, right? Like they were just like so excited, and if something was difficult or something just that connection was lost again.
Exactly.
Like, for whatever reason, like and that's very, very important, man. And Nelson, what I would love to discuss is like if you can just give me a brief overview of your recent successful campaign where you mentioned that you raised $40K. Was that for one specific project, or was that for like a group of projects? Because nonetheless, it's a huge milestone, man. Just in 1 week.
Thank you. Actually, that's through a collaboration of several different projects. So we have anywhere from 4 to 10 campaigns running at once. And so yeah, it's that. I think we only had that was only with 4 campaigns. That was only amongst 4 campaigns that we had live that week. So collectively, last week we raised over $40,000. I think it was like 41 or 42,000. I'm not exactly.
Well, it's huge, yeah.
Yeah. And you know what? And I got to tell you, that's a perfect example of clients and filmmakers that follow the coaching. Because again, this is a language that we know and we understand. We understand this language. Now, if we can relay that message to the filmmaker, and then they go ahead and execute the way that we ask them to, then it's seamless. And it's almost as if we're doing it ourselves.
Nice. Mm-hmm. And Nelson, I would love to discuss there's 2 main services that Avenida provides, right? There's the actual whole encompassing service, which would mean like, hey, let's raise money for your project. And then you mentioned that you have another service which is more of an emergency rescue kind of scenario, right? Like where they know, like, hey man, like I'm either halfway, but like I'm like 7 days till hitting my goal. And I would have to say, like, the majority of the people that I'm gonna be promoting this specific video because it's so important. Because one of the things that I see, in my group, when people are submitting their crowdfunding campaigns, they make no emotional connection. They just copy and paste. They don't discuss like what the project is about or why it resonates with them or why they want to produce it.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably one of the main reasons why campaigns fail, right? They just copy paste. They don't take that extra minute to really talk to somebody or to talk to a bunch of strangers, because that's what they're doing.
Yeah, and it's tough, and I'll be completely honest. I can't blame them. I've gone through the crowdfunding process myself as well, and not till you actually get in there do you realize. But it's yes, it's mixed in with a little bit of everything. Like you have to be real at times. At other times, maybe it's good to be a little more loose, and at times maybe it is good to be very detailed with the logistics and the specifics of everything. Now, that's where like I was telling you, that's kind of like the code cracking. It's about trying different things, because if you just have the same combination turning to the right the whole time, it's not going to work. But yeah, it is a combination of a lot of things put together, because regardless, whatever you do on day number 1 is not going to work on day 30. And going back to what you initially were talking about, the second service that we offer on the crowdfunding side, we call that campaign. Actually, not cramp. It feels like a cramp sometimes. It's tough. A campaign rescue. Campaign rescue is that's just like a, okay, hey, my campaign's struggling. I have this much time left. Can you guys jump on and help me out? Those I'm a little tougher with. I assess it. Maybe not, I mean, I'll check it out. I'll see if it works or not. I'll take a look to see if we can do it. I forward it to the coaches. I mean, those are ones I actually forward to the coaches to see if they feel they can actually save it. And from there, we jump on board, and immediately, like, we will most likely get on the Skype session, or if they're local, they come to our offices that same day. So we can get in there and just start really working at it and getting our team on board with it right away. Now, yeah, we offer that service. We prefer people come to us before they launch. However,
Of course.
that doesn't always happen. But it doesn't mean that all hope is lost.
And do you have your craft down so good that you just look at the page, it's like, there's probably, I'm not going to be able to help this person because once again, I think there's still some kind of foundation. I don't know what that magic formula is, or if you're ever going to be able to decipher it per se, but I'm pretty sure there has to be some kind of foundation. I don't know if it's the way they communicate with their pitch video or the way that it's laid out.
It's everything. It's
well, that's what it is.
It
It's
is,
everything.
and honestly, Jesus, it is absolutely everything. I've seen campaigns where everything looks, what I would say perfect, but maybe there's just one section that says something that might be a little confusing. So when people go to the pitch video is great, the perks are great, the message is great, but when they go describe it, maybe there's something that's confusing, maybe it's conflicting, and it flips it upside down. It's like people are like, oh, I'm confused. You're asking for my money. It's a little confusing. So it really is all the pieces. It's a lot.
Just like a movie.
Oh, absolutely.
Just like a movie. All the pieces play into making a great film.
Absolutely. If you have an amazing
art
film,
department, it's cinematography, it's acting, it's everything.
Absolutely. If you have an amazing film, but the editing is bad, it could kill your entire film. Like, you have these cuts that are jumping around, or it just, so it really has to all piece together, because you probably have the most amazing film, but if it's not edited correctly, you have that one missing element, it takes the whole thing down.
And walk us through like a typical scenario, like on your rescue campaign service. We're looking at, I've seen people post stuff where it's they have like about maybe a third, sometimes like they have a third of the money raised, but you can tell that deadline's like coming up like super quick, less than a week usually.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's half. And and obviously with Kickstarter, it's it's do or die. Indiegogo, gives you that flexibility of doing either or. Where even if you don't hit that number, you keep what you raise. Maybe if you can speak a little bit of Spark and Seed structure. Is it similar to like Indiegogo's?
Yeah. See, it's Seed and Spark is a combination of both. Seed and Spark is you have to raise 80%, at least 80%.
Oh wow!
Yeah, about at least 80%, and we like Seed and Spark. We're actually their official partner for crowdfunding. With Seed and Spark, they're very big also, like we are, on diversity and inclusion. So we do like using their platform a lot. However, when we work with people, it's not, we could strongly suggest what platform is best. Sometimes it's Indiegogo, sometimes it's Kickstarter. For instance, Alejandro, we use Kickstarter with his campaign for whatever reason, our coach came up with. So we do switch around between all of them depending on what the project itself is. But yeah, Seed and Spark is 80% or nothing goal. And again, we do like using them a lot. Again, they're very much in alignment with the message of diversity and inclusion, and they're a great group of people over there.
I believe they do some kind of promotional media, or
yeah,
they promote the project within the website a little bit better than Kickstarter. I believe that's the last thing I read.
Yeah, you know what, Seed and Spark, they're just a very passionate crew over there too. They really focus. They're focused mainly on media. Which is film, television, all of that kind of stuff. Where Indiegogo and Kickstarter could also include a lot of different type of products and stuff. But Seed and Spark is an amazing platform because we know them personally. We know that team, and we're filmmakers. What we do has to have heart, and that's what And that's what sells us, because we're not pre-selling items. You have to have heart, you have to have emotion. If you know, as a creator, you have to have that. And that's what you're already giving your supporters. You know, if they don't feel that passion coming off of you, then why would they feel that this film or this short or this you know, anything that you're creating is going to have any passion in that?
Yeah, that's once again we go back to that recurrent theme. It's really
Yeah.
the passion that the filmmaker brings.
Yeah, but it
Now
shows.
walk us through. Manda?
I was gonna say it shows. I mean, if you
Oh
know,
yeah,
but you
yeah,
have to be
definitely.
genuine about it. You have to be extremely genuine about it too. Um, you know, and like I said, you have to be genuine about it, but you have to also be strategic about it too. You know, there is strategy to this. But yes, it's in mixed in there with everything.
Yeah. Now walk us through like your actual your main service, which is where you're hoping the filmmaker reaches you either a month or 3 months prior to launching a
Mhm.
campaign, and they're coming with a lot of energy with a really great project,
Mhm.
and what's what's the scope of what you guys do to help them eventually reach the final goal, which is to raise the money that they're looking for.
I'm sorry. So my headphone cut out a touch. I'm so sorry. What was the? Can you repeat that one more time?
Yeah, what I was mentioning is like your main service, which is your main crowdfunding service
Oh, the crowdfunding
Avenida
management.
provides.
Okay, yeah. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I thought you meant production, because as production is our service. No, so crowdfunding management. What about that?
Oh yeah, like walk us through the process, like when a filmmaker
Oh yeah.
preferably contacts is they contact you like a month or 3 months prior,
Hmm.
and it's a very vibrant project.
Hmm.
Like I'm pretty sure people are just generally curious, like what's the actual
The
like
process.
the process that that Avenida provides
Oh yeah, sure
to
thing.
make
Sure.
sure that you guys, yeah.
Oh, sure thing. And actually, it doesn't have to. Okay, we so let's say someone emails or calls or anything. We have a conversation with them, either myself or one of our team members will have a phone call discussion with them, and we want to hear about what the project's all about. Again, during that call is when we're listening for if this person's going to be coachable or not. So we're also interviewing you at the same time, to be completely honest.
Yeah.
Um, so we have a call. We see what's going on. If you have a team in place, what your goal amount is and all of that. Then the process is actually pretty quick to get started. We take care of the logistics of the contract and details and things like that within that's all taken care of within a half an hour. And then from there we go ahead and start scheduling the actual kickoff session, which is that 1 to 2 hour kickoff session where you'll be working directly with your coach. Now that session, um, we schedule them sometimes depending on availability. The next day, if it's a rescue, we try to get them in that same day or whatever it ends up working for the team. Now, the timeline is we want to get started working with a person at least maybe ideally, ideally maybe 2 to 4 weeks before actually launching. However,
Okay.
however, look, we get it. Sometimes you gotta get it going, and you're like, wow, our team, our actors moved around. We have to shoot sooner than that. We need to launch in a week. We prefer not to, but hey, we still do it. We still do it. It's just everyone just goes into, everyone kicks it into high gear right away. Um, so once the campaign is set up, and our coach approves of it, and our team looks through it, and everyone approves of it, then we go live for 30 days. So, and then it's a 30-day campaign. Now, the campaigns offer longer campaigns. Don't do it. Don't do more than 30 days, and I'll tell you why. Because after 30 days, people are going to get sick of hearing about your campaign. And that's just the truth. It's the truth. It is the truth. After 30 days, they're like, is this guy ever going to post anything normal on Facebook again? Or, but also, not only are they going to be sick of it, you will also be sick of it. You as the campaigner, it's exhausting. And I'll tell you that. I tell people, you can come in here and we'll help you. We'll help you raise this. We'll do our best. And, we're pretty amazing at what we do. And we know how to take it, but after 30 days of campaigning, it wears you out. And I'm going to be completely honest with it. It's realistic, but you got to roll your sleeves up and do the work. You're trying to make thousands of dollars in a matter of just 4 weeks. Thousands of dollars in 4 weeks. You got to earn it. So It's not just here, let's go and hire Avenida and the money's going to be in our
Yeah,
accounts.
they'll just, yeah.
No, just like Alejandro said there earlier. And so, he says, it's a roller coaster, but guess what? Once you get off, you're like, wow, I'm glad I did it.
Yeah, it was cool, right? Like, oh wow,
Yeah,
that whole
yeah,
experience was pretty wild.
yeah.
Now, Nelson, I'm gonna see if there's anybody online right now that would love to join us on video. We have Angela Joseph. Would you mind coming on board if you have any specific crowdfunding questions?
All right. I like video questions.
We also have Yuri, I think. Just type in yes or give us a thumbs up, and I'll invite you to the video. And keep in mind, guys, that you're still free to submit your questions via text after the interview is finished. And I'm also going to be posting Avenida's website and also how to contact Nelson as well.
Yeah. What's cool thing is that the crowdfunding portion of our company became very popular because, as you know, most filmmakers struggle with funding itself. Funding is where most campaigns just die or just don't get any life at all. Primarily we are a production company, and I think what makes us extremely different than everyone else is that we crowdfund for projects with the mentality of filmmakers. We already, you've heard that term, I'm sure. It's begin with the end in mind, and that's what we do. We begin everything we do with the end in mind. Going also back to what we were talking about earlier, with filmmakers. The dream, everyone says, oh, I got to make these films first so I can get paid one day. I got to do this first so I can get paid one day. Well, you've been saying that for so many days. Let's make that day now. So we begin with that already in the back of our minds. Like, okay, we're going to help this person get funded. We help people set up. And the thing is, we really go through the process with them, with the coaching. I mean, the coaching is the most value if here. Bottom line is, our team that does all the work and a lot of the tedious work is amazing. But the coaching that people get is where most people are just saying, that's where the value is. It's the knowledge of the stuff we've been through a ton of times before. And essentially, we are the only company in existence where, we take people A through Z. You walk in with, a fee to hire us. We crowdfund. We help you raise the money. Many times we recuperate that money within a process itself, and you leave here with a finished product.
Yeah, and Carlo just mentioned something very interesting. That's a member of our group, because I know the problem very well. I have never had the time to keep up with social media, hence why I make my own projects from my own pocket. And that's obviously, a lot of filmmakers can bootstrap their projects now. Equipment's very inexpensive, but I think one of the things that I try to promote mostly in my group is like, you can really have a career as a filmmaker, man. And I think if you don't mind, Nelson, spending maybe the last few minutes, because it coincides with this specific statement, is the reality of self-distribution, which has always been one of my biggest fascinations, and it's still a bit of an obsession. I'm just I'm a little I like playing it a little safe. I just want to make sure that when I do it, it's just like it's gonna just change everything. And for a lot of filmmakers, they should start really considering that. Hey, besides I can do a $5,000 film, or a $10,000 film. But eventually, you do want to get to a point where, the budget's a little bit more comfortable. You have a lot more assets. But not only that, like, how can that film, when it's finished, feed you for another year or two, or feed the next project?
I'm glad you brought that up. Self-distribution is our distribution of choice. That's just it. Just the thing is, times are changing. Like we're talking to each other on many, I'm on my phone talking right
on two phones.
On two phones.
Yeah, we're talking on two phones.
Which is also a TV, which is a new age TV. So the thing is that people are still very comfortable with, my project's on the TV at home on the wall, or my project's going to be seen in movie theaters. Now, if anyone's been through that route before, that unless you're working with a multi-million-dollar project, or very large scale project, you're not going to see a dollar from that. That's just it. You could tell people that your movie was in theaters, or you could tell people that it was on TV, that at the end of the day, that's going to cost you money. Now, with self-distribution, you go through things like there are different, so many online platforms. This platform we're talking about right now, Facebook. Facebook is turning itself into a network with Facebook Watch. We have clients on Facebook Watch, people on Hulu, on Amazon, on Apple TV. We work with different avenues to get your things seen. And the thing is, like I said, we have projects that we self-distribute that they're over 5 years old, and we're still getting paid on them continuously.
Residuals, right? You're making
Oh,
residuals.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And when you hold the rights to your projects, then what happens is you continue to license out those rights. Now, if you ask me, would I prefer, like, hey, do you want prestige of having your film in a theater costing you money, and it doesn't really set you up for the next project, or do you want it to be consumed and seen, on online platforms or on your phone? And a lot of these online platforms can be played on your TV. Who doesn't have Hulu or Netflix or whatever?
Roku?
Yeah,
Yeah,
all of that.
I just I was speaking with the I believe he was a producer rep where now you can set up pretty much your own Roku channel. And it's just that you can use various platforms to submit your film through iTunes, through Netflix, through Amazon Prime. There's just so many avenues to make for a film to make money independently. I have some personal views on that though. I mean, for certain budget ranges, at least me personally, I think it works extremely well self-distribution. If it's a little higher, a lot higher budget, there's opportunity to get a decent distribution bill. A decent distribution deal because some of the films that I've sold are getting residuals as well. It's just a different strategy, a different market sometimes. If that makes any sense.
No, it does. It does. It does. And again, when you're self-distributing it, you have the control in your hands. You have the power in your hands. And also, I mean, think about it. If you crowdfund something, you're the money person. You're the money man. You're the money woman. You don't have someone who's financing you, poking their nose in the creative, because a lot of times the money person is not on the same page as the creative person. And then you already have
also the cash flow, Nelson. I think the cash flow for any independent filmmaker, if you do a traditional distribution deal, it can be 6 to 9 months before you even see the first check. And if you're doing self-distribution, your cash flow is like, depending on the structure, if you're selling DVDs directly through your website, you're getting that cash flow like right now, which really helps.
Oh yeah. Look, listen, if you self-distribute a crowdfunded project, that very first dollar you make is your profit.
It's yours.
It is yours.
Yeah.
And that is just the reality of it. Again, like if you give me two options, like, here, do you want to go prestigious this way to, have your stuff seen in theaters and it's going to end up costing me money, or if I'm going to go this way, self-distribute it, and that very first dollar that comes in his mind is like, I'll take this one because I'll do a few of these over here that's going to, fund the next one and make more and more. And that's how you grow.
And you can also hybrid, right? You can do some form of a hybrid distribution.
Absolutely.
You retain some of your rights, like your physical DVDs selling directly through your website.
Absolutely.
Maybe keep some of the VOD rights, but you sell the foreign rights. It just depends.
There's so many things that can be done. Honestly, that's an amazing thing right now. We're in the golden age of new media. And so everything that can be thought of, we can do, or we are doing. It can be done. It can be done, yeah. And that's just it. It's a wonderful time. It's a wonderful time for creators. It really is, because you have an audience. If you know how to play it right, you have an audience in your pocket right there. What we're talking on right now.
Yeah, exactly. With it took me about 2 years to get the group where it's at right now, and it's been like an amazing source of resources, because I'm listening. You're listening to your audience, right? They're telling you like, hey, these are the problems that I'm having, pitching my project, and eventually, funding my project, right? That's at least my specific focus. And, I've noticed that, I'm getting way more, interaction with, investors. I'm getting ready to work hopefully on a bigger project where, pre-sales would make like would make sense, or going
Yeah.
through, a film financing bank would make sense.
Perfect.
And those are just different avenues, right?
Absolutely.
And it really depends on the project too, or the scope of the project as well.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
yeah, and audience, if we're just gonna have another few minutes, and if anybody has a specific question, or if anybody would like to join us on camera, you're more than welcome to for the next 2 to 3 minutes. So don't be shy. Just ask your specific crowdfunding question.
All right. Yeah, and just going off of if we were waiting for anyone to want to write in or anything, but just to go out there, like for us, our motto is just get it done. Just get it done. If you have a hybrid, you have money coming in from crowdfunding, what ends up happening sometimes is that when people see that you have money coming in, then investors will jump in. Because if you get 20K, 40K from a crowdfunding campaign, that's first monies. And an investor might be like, oh, you've already got 20K? Okay.
That's your development money.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I'll jump in on top of that. So there are a lot of different ways to leverage it. We really don't ever have two situations that are ever the same. So, it's just get it done. All the resources and avenues exist right now. So, there really should be no excuse why people couldn't make their own product right now. Doesn't matter what level of experience you have either. We can help at any stage necessary and all the way through.
Yeah, man. And I just can't wait to get to a point where, filmmakers are. This is the thing that's so frustrating, Nelson, and I'm going to be 100% honest.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen a lot of different, different sectors of business
Mm-hmm.
that are selling their products digitally, whether it's a PDF or video courses,
Mm-hmm.
and they're consistently making six figures, man.
Mm-hmm.
And I would love to get to a point where us as filmmakers, are making six figures, like with our mini studios, man. Like, we're hitting those numbers. Like, we're talking about, like, people making, 20, 50K a month, man,
Mm-hmm.
or hitting six figures in a year.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know what's going to be that transition where, filmmakers are finally catching up with what other industries have been doing for the last, 5 years,
Mm-hmm.
Straight.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you something. Avenida's going to have some news coming up within, maybe 2019. We're going to be expanding into something different where it's a little bit of what you're talking about. So, and I was referring to the studio portion of it and things like, but we've got some big plans and what we're moving in, and we're actually moving that direction already. And that's part of the growth that we're having. Right. So, and it's always going to be something where, we're supporting the independent creator. The thing is, there's just a lot of us. There's just a lot of us with no resources, so we come together in one place. Just things like your platform here, your page. It's a page of resources of people helping each other out and information, and that's who we are. We're an ally in the same space.
Awesome, Nelson. Any finishing thoughts, man? Any advice? Any top 3 things that you need to do before you even consider crowdfunding?
Yes.
Any words of inspiration, man? That'll be phenomenal.
Absolutely. All right, let's see. Let me give you 3 things. Number 1, be dedicated. Be absolutely dedicated to what you're doing. People are watching you, so you got to be dedicated. If you're not dedicated to it, no one else is going to be dedicated about it. Be passionate. And that's the second one. Be extremely passionate about what you're doing as well. Dedication and passion are 2 different things. If you really break them down, dedication could be something you do on a regular basis consistently. Passion is something that you will do on a regular basis no matter what.
Yeah.
And the third thing I would do is call us. Yeah, call us. We know what we're doing. We really know what we're doing. So
nice. Well, Nelson, thank you once again for joining us, man. I really appreciate it. And once again, guys, absolutely. I'm going to post Avenida's website and also Nelson's email, so you can start those inquiries, man. Start that conversation.
Absolutely. Jesus, thanks for having me on again. It's always a pleasure. Yeah, we look forward to talking to you real soon, and we'll let you know what's going on with the documentary.
The big one.
Oh yeah. Oh that other move. Yeah. I'll tell you that one offline. I'll tell you that move offline.
All right, Papa.
All right, bye.
All right, thank you so much, Nelson.
It's great talking to you. Talk to y'all soon. Take care.
Peace.
Bye-bye.